Hello, I'm Stephen Shastay, and I'm here to teach you how to drop. Now, even in theory class, the teacher presents too many words for you to write correctly, and you end up writing sloppy, or you end up falling behind in the dictation and suffering large drops. In those drops, you often have a string of easy words that you wish you would have written rather than the hard ones. For instance, how many people have written a word like ambidextrous and then later drop something like, at that time he was? Now, you don't always know that easy words are coming. You have to learn to say to yourself, in the next 4 or 5 words, what can I write? And I better drop the rest. Otherwise, I'll end up in trouble. Now, first of all, let's get you out of your happy place. Let's make you all miserable. This is going to be the first drill. Now, I'm not going to give you any instructions. We're just going to do it. Then we're going to start working on how to do it. We'll go back, cover steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many steps it takes, and we'll eventually hit this drill again at the same speed, and you'll do remarkably better. Here we go. Here's your first drill. Ready? That would be fine. Who can be sure? So far so good. They have a car. What is the time? That is the end. They should make it. No sir, not us. We could do it. No ma'am, you win. All right, look at that. 10 seconds and you're already trembling and shaking and sweating and all doing all kinds of bad things. Okay, if you're writing at 60 words a minute, you have the ability to get at least 1 out of 10 words, 1 out of 4 words of what I just dictated. I dictated at 240 words a minute. You cut that into quarters and you have 60 words a minute. Now, each sentence in this dictation was 4 words. The 60 should be able to get 1 word out of every 4. 1 word out of every 4. If you're in the 80s, you have the ability to get 1 word out of every 4 and occasionally get a second word in each sentence. Occasionally. Occasionally. Nobody should drop an entire sentence. I know what happened on this last drill. You go in there with the training that you had, and you wrote a little bit. You got entirely confused because the words are coming way too fast, and you dropped a ton. You got barely anything. For the most likely outcomes, the 60s got around 30, 35 words a minute, and what they got was sloppy. The 80s didn't do considerably better than that. If you're writing 60, let me teach you how to always get 60 words a minute. If you're writing 80, how to always get 80 words a minute. Or better, because I'll teach you how to pick. I'll teach you how to pick which words to write. And when you do that, instead of just writing everything, you pick the best words to write, and your score often goes up because you pick much better. Alrighty, same drill, handled much differently. I'm going to dictate only the first word of every sentence. This will be 60 words a minute. There won't be any sentences. It's just the first word out of every sentence. If you're writing 60, you should get it all. If you're writing 80, you should get it all, and it should be perfect notes. Any higher speed than that, you're just going to have to satisfy yourself that you're getting it all and you have perfect notes. Here we go. That's 60. Ready? That, who, so, they, what, that, they, no, we, no, park, she, this, you, they, yes, she, I, they, this. Alrighty. Now if you had done that on the first drill, you would have had your 60 words a minute. Instead, because there was too many words and because you didn't have any training on what to do when too many words or too many hard words are presented, you fell apart. Now, nice and smooth, spoon feeding you the easy stuff, just like they did in theory. You ended up getting your 60 words a minute like you should have. This time, I'm going to dictate 2 words out of every sentence. I'll say them together. First groups, that would, who can, so far. The very first word that I say is easier on the brain to write. That would. Without thinking about it, if you just write that. It's the first word you hear. It's an easy stroke. And to tell you the truth, I like writing that a whole lot more than I do writing would. The second 2, who can? Well, actually can is just the letter K for me, and who is 3 letters. Who is not hard, but a lot of people have a little bit of trouble with the WH-KH conflict. Nobody really has much trouble with simply the K. Now and again, people do a W instead of a K, but that's usually because they're writing too darn fast. But when I dictate this time, 2 words will be coming at you. It'll actually be done at 120 words a minute. Your job is to simply write 1 of those 2 words. Please don't write 2, not even if you're in the 80s or 100s. Go along with the drill, learn how to drop. Later on you put it together and you write as much as you can. But right now this is pure training. Write 1 word out of 2, drop the other one, move on to the next group. Write 1 word out of 2, move on. Here we go. Ready? That would. Who can? So far, they have. What is? That is. They should. No, sir. We could. No, ma'am. Park it. She was. This would. You are. They could. Yes, sir. She would. I can. They were. This is. Okay, if you followed my directions, this is fairly simple drill. Words that you learned in theory class. That's all I'm asking you to write. Words that you wrote in theory class. Easy strokes. Strokes that basically you have a shorter outline. Many of you don't write T-H-A-T for that. You write T-H-A. Many of these words, there's a brief for them. So that it's fairly simple stuff. Now I dictated at 120. I asked you to write 1 word out of 2. And that's a score of 60 words a minute. Now what if I add a 3rd word to it? And then I dictate at 180. Could you still get that first word, that second word, that third word? 1 of those 3 words, could you get those? Could you? Could you get 1 out of 3? Now the words are starting to come pretty fast when I'm dictating at 180 words a minute. They're starting to come pretty fast. Can you do that? 1 word out of every group of 3. All I'm asking is for you to continue to write at 60 words a minute. Ready? That would be. Who can be? So far so, they have a. What is the? That is the. They should make? No, sir, not. We could do? No, ma'am, you. Park it out. She was a. This would go. You are the. They could take. 180 words a minute. Look at that. You're drilling at a very high speed, and you're staying under control. You're writing clean because you're not letting the speed of the dictation confuse you. You're just writing what you can and dropping the rest. You're getting maximum points. You're writing clean. If you write a stroke, you get a point for it on your test. If you drop a word, it's because you didn't have enough time to write that particular word. Okay. And what if we put it all together again? I dictate at 240. Can you still get 1 word out of 4? Can you make this a substantially better drill than what you had when I first did this at the beginning of the video? Can you handle this much, much better? You should be able to. Ready? At 240. That would be fine. Who can be sure? So far so good. They have a car. What is the time? That is the end. They should make it. No, sir, not us. We could do it. No, ma'am, you win. Park it out there. She was a nurse. This would go well. You are the best. They could take 2. Yes, sir, he won. She would work hard. I can do it. They were on top. This is the one. I want to win. He is bad news. Will the snow come? I have the note. She is the girl. How'd you do? If you concentrated on what I tried to teach you, you did pretty good. 60 word a minute students, they wrote 60 words a minute. They didn't get confused. They didn't write out of control. They didn't write sloppy. They didn't suffer huge, huge drops, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 words. At all times, everybody was producing. At all times, everybody was writing fairly clear, so almost everything they wrote, they were going to get a point for. Nobody suffers a huge, huge drop. Wonderful things are happening. Alrighty, now the proof is in the pudding. You're not going to be tested at 240 words a minute when you're in the 60s. You're going to be tested at 60s. The 80s will be tested at 80s. The 100s at 100. Blah, blah, blah. You have to pick and choose. You have to say to yourself, how far behind am I getting? Well, how can you do that? Well, here's a way. These sentences are made up of 4 words apiece. When I finish a sentence, the first sentence, for example, is that would be fine. When I finish a sentence, when I say fine for that first sentence, you should at least be writing that. Now that's fairly easy to do for the first sentence. How about in the middle where it says something like she would work hard? When I say hard, you should at least be writing she. Now she would work hard, it shows up, you know, in the second half of a minute. It doesn't show up right in the very beginning. If you're going to be carrying, you're going to be carrying later on, after 20 seconds, 40 seconds or so, you're going to be carrying. Then you have to make your choices. How far behind am I? Okay, here's your rule for magic drills. You must at least get one word out of every sentence. It must be, almost at all times, a good word that you can translate. You should never drop a full and complete sentence in a magic drill. Never. If you're doing that, then you're carrying too many words. Nobody, not even 225s, have the right to say, I should have had a 4-word drop. These words were so difficult, I couldn't even write one word out of 4 in a certain section. At no time should that be applicable. You should be able to get something. You shouldn't have fell way far behind. Okay, here we go. This is only at 60. These are complete sentences. At no time should you drop a full and complete sentence. At no time should you be writing out of control. At no time should you be writing sloppy. We need professionalism. We need good, solid strokes. We need you to move up through your speeds and graduate and earn a ton of money. Here we go at 60. Ready? That would be fine. Who can be sure? So far, so good. They have a car. What is the time? That is the end. They should make it. No, sir, not us. We could do it. No, ma'am. You win. Park it out there. She was a nurse. This would go well. You are the best. They could take 2. Now generally, as far as the drills that you need to do to get out of school, you don't have to do more than 30 seconds or a minute at a time. Despite all this hogwash about endurance, that's usually not the trouble. Most likely the trouble is you don't know how to drop, and it was a pretty good test for a while, then there came a hard section, you didn't know what to do. You're not quite at the speed, you held on for quite a while, but then all of a sudden there was too many strokes and you broke down. It really wasn't due to endurance. It's not really that you got tired. It's that you got confused, that you got overloaded, that you got too many things to do at once and you didn't know which ones to do. If you're one of those people that carries, and we're not allowing that in here, if you carry too many words, you're going to suffer these big drops. If you're one of those people that always suffers big drops, you definitely want to have 1 minute drills or even longer. If you're one of those people who doesn't suffer big drops, you're just working on clarity, you're just working on rhythm, you're just working on control, then 30 seconds is enough for a drill. It really is. How did you perform at that level? You did well? Let's move it up in speed. How do you perform at that level? You didn't do so well? Let's move it on back. But those who have those big drops, you have to do at least a minute. Usually by the time a minute is over, those who suffer big drops have already suffered 1 or 2 big ones. Usually a minute's enough. Sometimes you got to go a little bit further.